What's up, guys? This is Giovanni. We're back playing more of the Anne Frank house. Last video we were investigating the front office space of the Frank house, but now we've made our way to the back of the, I believe it to be the first floor. So we're in the office kitchen looking at stuff. I'm clicking on things. Let's check it out.
In the kitchen, the gelling agent Opecta is tried out in all sorts of jams. Miep Gies can only offer good advice if she's had experience with a wide variety of fruits. She has to be able to provide recipes for different kinds of jam. Here you can see the original recipe booklet in which the jam recipes were recorded.
Cool stuff. I had no idea how to make jam. Some kind of on-demand water heater there. Regarding Fanta, yeah, so sometime around 1940, the Coca-Cola company was split off from the main parent company in Germany, and they were having a really tough time getting syrup into the country. So the company at the time created a new soda using leftover ingredients. I think they said in Wikipedia it says pomace and some other ingredient, and they had to come up with a name, whatever to call it. One of the employees called it Fantasy, or however you pronounce that in German, and that was shortened into Fanta. So that's what they called it, Fanta. And yeah, whey and pumice, that's what they were left with. Yeah, and once the occupation was over, the company rejoined, and Coca-Cola took over that flavor. So it's a soda that originated in Nazi Germany. And if I'm correct, I think the Pope Ratzinger actually likes it. The current Pope, it's his favorite drink, and coincidentally, so he was originally as a child part of the Nazi youth, which I think he renounced at some point later in his life. So, but somewhere on his bio, if you look on it, what does the Pope like? He likes Fanta, or he likes orange soda. So, which that includes Fanta, I believe, since that's German. Let's go to the back office here.
This blanket chest, which Otto Frank brought with him from Frankfurt, stayed with the family. During the war, Otto asked Kleiman to have it appraised by an antique dealer who was interested in buying it. But Otto thinks the price offered is too low and decides not to sell it. Unlike the Van Pels family, the Franks do not have many financial worries while they're in hiding.
Come on. This is the BBC. Let's see if we can get this going. It looks like it's got 6 channels here.
Before the days of television, people listened to the radio to hear amusement programs and to listen to the news. For the people in hiding, this kind of contact with the outside world was extremely important. The radio helped distract them from their daily drudgery, and it kept them informed about how the war was proceeding. But the very sound of the radio could betray their whereabouts, so they had to be very cautious with it. They could only listen when all the people working in the warehouse downstairs were gone.
On the 11th of July 1942, 5 days after going into hiding, Anne describes how the family are listening to the English broadcast in the private office. Anne is so scared that someone will hear that she begs her father to go back upstairs with her. But before long, her fears are conquered by curiosity and the need for distraction. From then on, Anne listens to various radio programs on Dutch, German and English stations.
That was BBC One? Maybe.
This is the BBC. Here is the 6 o'clock news for today, Thursday, July the 9th, 1942. Details have been given in London of the way in which the Germans are systematically wiping out life and culture in Poland. At least 200,000 Jews have been massacred. The death rate now is 6,000 a month. Jews are regularly killed by machine gun fire, hand grenades, and even poisoned by gas. In a single night, 2,500 Jews from one town were driven from their homes and put to death. 10 times that number went to one or other of the 23 known concentration camps. The Minister of Home Affairs has given an assurance that the United Nations will exact extreme justice for these crimes after the war.
This message was broadcast 3 days after the Frank family went into hiding. 3 months later, on the 9th of October 1942, Anne writes about it. The situation being so terrible even in the Netherlands, she tries to think what it will be like in more barbarian territories. The occupants of the secret annex believe that most people are being killed. There are stories about gassings. Anne asks herself if that is perhaps the quickest way of killing people. She is extremely upset about it.
Before the Jews were collectively gassed, this method of extermination was used on the mentally handicapped. By 1940, the Nazis have already conducted a successful euthanasia program on 70,000 mentally handicapped people. The methods they have used are gas, lethal injections, pills, and exhaust fumes pumped into blacked-out buses. This killing is carried out by regular doctors and nurses. After protests from German churches, among others, the tests are officially stopped. In secret, they continue until 1945, as is later revealed. But the Nazis are searching for a faster and less conspicuous method of extermination. Special camps are designed and built. Gas chambers are made large enough to hold hundreds of people crammed together. The people are told that after their long journey, they must first shower to be deloused. The doors are closed, and the lethal gases are released. By the spring of 1942, the first camps designed exclusively for the mass extermination of Jews are in full operation. Chalmno, Belzec, Sobibor, and Treblinka are soon followed by Majdanek and Auschwitz.
That's tough stuff. Just randomly gassing people with, what, carbon monoxide, cyanide, and all that stuff. Putting into a gas chamber. That's tough. Okay. Zyklon B is what they call it. Hydrogen cyanide.
This is the BBC. Here is the 1 o'clock news for today, Saturday the 24th of October, 1942. The 8th Army has launched an offensive in Egypt. It started last night with strong air support, and fierce fighting is now going on.
In October and November of 1942, the German advance in Africa is stopped by British troops during the successful Battle of El Alamein. The Allied troop movements from Egypt, heading west through Libya towards Tunisia, are directed by General Montgomery.
On the 26th of October 1942, Anne gives an enthusiastic account of the campaign in Africa. She hopes that the British won't make any blunders, and that after this offensive, the war will soon be over.
Okay, number 3. Nope, number 4.
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is the 9 o'clock news for today, Wednesday, the 4th of November, 1942. At Stalingrad, the Russians have stood their ground against new and considerable attacks. The fighting is reported from Moscow to have been extremely fierce and often marked by hand-to-hand engagements. All attacks ended in retreat for the enemy and in tremendous losses amongst its men.
The Germans had hoped to conquer the vast Russian Empire in only a few months, but their advance has been stalled, Anne hears. Stalingrad is an important objective. It's the center of the Russian arms industry and for shipping on the Volga River. Between the 16th of September and the 18th of November 1942, the Germans take 90% of the city, but only with great losses. Resistance is great, and the population of Stalingrad suffers terribly during the siege. Many die from hunger or from artillery bombardments. On the 19th of November of that same year, the Russian army begins to retaliate successfully. They surround the German troops in Stalingrad. After an exhausting battle lasting from the 31st of January to the 2nd of February, the Germans surrender. In the summer of 1943, a final battle takes place near the city of Kursk. The German advance into Russia is decisively halted.
On the 5th of November 1942, Anne notes that the men in the house are elated by the favourable course the war is taking. That morning, there is tea and coffee for everyone.
Tea and coffee as opposed to water. Gotta be tough.
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is the news for today, Sunday the 8th of November 1942. American troops have landed in force at several points on the Mediterranean and Atlantic coasts of French North Africa.
At the beginning of 1942, British and American troops land in Morocco and Algeria, the western part of North Africa. Under the leadership of General Eisenhower, the troops move east towards Tunisia. From Libya, the troops advance towards Tunis. The German and Italian troops surrender in Tunis on the 13th of May, 1943.
I have never promised anything but blood, tears, toil, and sweat. Now, however, we have a new experience. We have victory. A remarkable and definite victory. This is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end. But it is perhaps the end of the beginning.
On the 9th of November 1942, Anne quotes from a speech by Churchill in her diary. His famous statement fills all of those in hiding with hope. For them, it is the beginning of the end. But Anne points out that Churchill has made it quite clear that it is the end of the beginning. She thinks that makes a big difference.
Alright guys, we'll come back after the break. Please comment and rate on this video. Tell me what you think. Please subscribe to my channel.